welcome to Popcorn and Palava. I'm your host, Oludemilade, and with me, my co-host, Maiwa and Faz. How you guys doing today?
For us, you can go.
Oh, I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing just fine. Honestly, I just woke up a few minutes ago, or not a minute, but like an hour ago. And yeah, my brain is still booting up, but by the time this is over, I think I'll be ready.
That's cool.
How
That's
about
cool.
you?
Yeah, no, I'm doing good too. I mean, it's been raining all weekend in Houston, so cold, rainy. It's not the most motivating weather, but hey, we're doing our thing, trying to getting through the weekend and going into next week.
All right. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully this is a bit of an engine booster, and the conversations today can actually improve your week.
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to be talking Nollywood, so interesting topic. And we're going to be talking about some, really some amazing series that are coming out. One of them actually based on a book from a Nigerian author. So, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this conversation for sure.
And I'm also noticing you're wearing a little bit of danshiki. Is that intentional? Is that trying to
This is this is
copy?
my what do you call it? This is my jalabia. This is what
Okay.
yes,
So
my comfy wear houseware. So, but
I can appreciate. Okay.
representing. I want to be like you with your hat and all your
It's Black
yeah.
Joy Day in Oakland today, so I'm gonna go
It's
and
all good.
celebrate it. All right, so let's set
Nice.
the stage. We have two major topics today. I think we're gonna talk about the Oscar nominations. And it's gonna dive into Netflix, and we're gonna then talk about this movie, The Children of Blood and Bones. Um, and we're gonna have a conversation about those two particular perspectives. But to set the stage, I'm gonna give you the premise and the direction in which I feel the conversation can go. So as of right now, Nigeria is one of the biggest film industries in the world, second only to Hollywood, right? We make 2,599 movies a year, and this is of 2021. The next closest to us is Ghana with 600 and Kenya with 500. So we've been
Yeah.
dominating the um the African market, and the amount of movies that we've released are one of the biggest industries in the world. So the numbers don't lie. Um, the issue is Nigeria has not gotten a movie nominated in the Oscars until this year. And in this year, we got a movie called My Mataba, which was nominated. It's a Hausa movie that was nominated in the Oscars. Okay.
Interesting.
Previously, we've had a number of African movies nominated, most of them Algerian. Only a South African movie has won. We even got a movie from Mauritania called Timbuktu, one from Tunisia called Four Daughters that came out in 2023, and a Senegalese movie called Moi Capitan that came out
Mm.
in 2024. And because of the big industry, we saw Netflix coming into Nigeria, right? Trying to invest in Nigeria. And we're hoping that as time goes on, we would see more movies coming out of Nigeria that would give us ability to compete with the world. With the news that Netflix is reducing their impact in Nigeria, I'm just trying to gauge your perspectives on what you feel is the leading reason why Nigeria doesn't compete um, as much with other African countries and other countries in the world for Oscar nominations. And why you feel, I mean, this may be an informed or uninformed conversation, but it would be interesting to gauge your perspective on why we don't interact with Nigerian films overall too. So, what are some of the reasons why you feel like Nigerian movies are not strong on your list?
Mm. Pause, you
All
wanna
right, let
go? Yeah,
me.
first on yeah,
Yeah,
you go
I
first.
guess I'll go first. I will say there has been a very clear improvement in the quality of Nigerian movies from when I was younger. And I have to give him props for that. There's the technical, the production quality has definitely like skyrocketed from where we were kids. And even back then, we were still finding a way to pump out thousands of movies a year, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think that might be slightly due to Netflix's arrival in Nigeria. But they probably have some standard for the shows that they want on their platform that forced creators to invest more into the more technical aspects of their movie making and their filmmaking. Um, I would say that I think it's a host of things, but I don't think it's just one thing. I don't think it's a, oh, the stories are bad, or oh, the acting is bad. I think it's just a mix of small things that kind of add up um to Nigerian movies, that as to why they don't get that level of acclaim. The execution threshold to be nominated for the Oscars is extremely high. It's extremely high. Like, and I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to diminish African movies. I haven't watched. I think the last African movie I watched was like 2 years ago. Nigerian movie that I watched was like 2 years ago. I can't remember the name right now, but it was one movie that was like super popular. It was all over Netflix. And
House
I watched
Party
it with
or
mom.
something. Maybe it's House Party or something like
Was it
that.
House Party? It was something. No, it was something about like a son, and he's trying to take over a
Oh,
business or something like that. And he
interesting.
has like
Okay.
his mom there. I can't even fully remember the plot right now. Um, but I think there just has to be like another level up in execution, because even as I watch like movies, the new better movies, more technical movies now, there's still issues with like sound quality. And you know me, I'm kind of a stickler for sound, right? So, or like long scenes that almost feel like, what's the point of this scene being in the movie? And there was it's even good that I don't even have examples because I don't want to call any one movie out. But I remember this movie where the actor, they finish their scene, right, and they're trying to lead up into another scene, and they have this whole 3-minute portion where they're like in a buka that eating, and they're trying to like set up like a party, like happy hour vibe. Everybody's just eating and chopping and having a good time, but they played the entire 3-minute scene in like fast forward, and they had like backing track music to it. And I was just like, as a watcher, I was just like, why are we? Why is this here? Like, you could just do this in a few shots. You can figure out another way to like speed this part up and get into the next scene of the story, because it just
Yeah.
felt like the main plot point has already been dealt with. Now we're
Yeah.
just doing this party thing that just seems a little out of place, and then we're jumping to the next scene. And in those scenes, the music is way too loud, or like the voice comes in harsh. The voice recording comes in super harsh, or like the music is way louder than the voices, or the voices are way louder than the environment. So just tiny things like that, that I feel like the people who are making these judgments on what goes into the Oscars are gonna be like, yeah, we'll never put something like this in the
Yeah,
Oscars,
we're not putting.
right?
Yeah, we're not putting this. Yeah.
It might be a
Yeah.
great movie, it might have a great story, but man, the sound is terrible all through the movie. Because
Yeah.
if you're in the Oscar, it's marketing. The
Yeah.
Oscar is pretty much promoting your movie as well. So
Yeah.
to them, there is probably
Standard.
a
It's
standard to
standard.
be like,
Yes.
hey,
Yes.
whatever movie we put
Yes.
on here, we're gonna promote. We can't reduce
Yeah.
our own credibility
Yeah.
for a movie, even
To
if we want to do
support.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm
Yeah, well,
with you, Fawaz, and I think you've caught on to the technical issues. I'm gonna touch on some of the more political type issues. Yeah. You guys were you kind of talked a little bit about Netflix and Netflix leaving Nigeria. They I did some research. Apparently, Netflix, had given some producers like $1.5 million to produce a movie, and then actually Basketmouth, the Nigerian comedian, went
Mm.
on a show and basically said, you know, they they essentially spent 10%. The producers spent 10% of that money on the actual movie, and then kept the rest for themselves. So,
Wow.
where you are, Fawaz, you are talking about all these technical. It's coming from somewhere, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you are spending, 100K when they gave you 1.5 million to do a movie, those things are going to come out. You're not spending on
Yeah.
quality. You're not spending on quality, and I think that's been one of Nigeria's biggest problems in and of itself. Is we're churning out movies like we're in a factory. Creatives need time, to flesh out a good story, and take the time to hit the right shot. And yes, we've improved, but the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, it's like, you know, you are concentrating more on quantity rather than
Mm.
quality. And Oscar is not going to recognize you for the amount of movies that you are churning out. That's not
Yeah.
how it works. You know what I mean? Everything, there were some things that I was jotting down because I listened to, some of the stories behind, Netflix, and apparently Amazon left as well. So it wasn't just Netflix. Amazon was trying to create a market in Nigeria. And for the some of the same reasons, they also left.
Mm.
So there's misuse of funds.
Yeah.
The government does not really support where, here in the States or here in Canada, there's a certain level of support that you get. We don't have the infrastructure. We still have
Yeah.
issues with electricity. you know all these things are going to affect the movie industry. I mean, any industry, to be
Yeah.
honest. Everybody needs internet to do stuff now. You can't have that. You don't have that in Nigeria as standard. You don't have standard light. you know so again, misuse of funds, lack of creativity, quantity versus quality. I think that plays into it. And then one big thing that I also wanted to mention is, yeah, Netflix did their ROI and they came to the conclusion that at the end of the day, guess what? Nigeria has 300 million. Lagos is one of the most populated cities in the world. Eh?
Yeah.
Do you know guess how many subscribers Netflix has in Nigeria? Just guess. Nice
Mm,
little
2 million.
180,000.
Mm,
Yeah. That's yeah.
So, as a businessman, as a business company, somebody that wants to go and do business in a country, first off, you don't have the resources. The government doesn't help with the resources or the infrastructure. You have
Yeah.
people that are corrupt, that are stealing your money. And then at the end of the day, even the subscribers,
They're not
you
done.
know, are doing more things on the piracy side than they are on, there's no subscriptions. So, I mean, it sucks, Demilade, I'll be curious as to what your research showed, but like we just don't, we're not set up. Yes, we're talented people. You see that in our actors. Apparently, the director of the recent Captain America movie is Nigerian.
Mm.
You have people like Cynthia Erivo, and we'll talk about these amazing actors, when we talk about the casting for the Children of Blood and Bone. But we have all these great actors, directors, producers, in Hollywood, and
Mm.
somehow Nollywood, as one of the largest industries, we're not getting recognized because we don't really produce enough quality work. That's my take. Again, this is from, kind of looking around, listening to interviews with producers and like Nigerian producers,
Hmm.
and it's sad, right? Because doesn't only affect movies, but it affects like the entire
Everything.
country. Yeah, from
Yeah.
an
I
investment
mean,
standpoint.
those points that you brought up with the misuse of funds, lack of
Yeah,
infrastructure, I don't think it's. I mean, I don't want to get into the politic aspects of things, but it's something that has been. I mean, you've
rampant.
heard rampant. I mean,
Yeah.
you had like what's it, Virgin
Record
what's this, not records, Richard Branson's Virgin
Branson.
uh airline leaving
Yep,
Nigeria
of
for
course.
similar reasons.
Why not?
A lot of companies come to Nigeria to try to find investments, and you kind of hear the same, like the same kind of issues where they're like, well, we don't have the support we need, and we just
Yep,
have to grease too many hands to get anything done.
it's a
So we're
problem.
just gonna step out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean, the corruption is like steeped in our society, unfortunately. So, you know,
so I'll give you my perspectives. And I don't. I mean, I watch some Nigerian films, but I would say that I don't watch a lot of Nigerian movies. The reasons you guys have talked about, like the lack of quality, in the, I think the lack of quality is usually the reasons why I originally did not follow a lot of Nigerian movies. I think one of the main problems that Nigeria has, as a whole, is that the government doesn't provide any kind of help for people who want to make films in Nigeria.
yep,
And as a result, a lot of people have to make a lot of films keep up with the cost of making films.
yep,
So they prioritize the quantity of the movies they make, over the quality of the movie they make.
yep,
Um, and in some situations, people write scripts very quickly based on
yeah,
trends that are currently happening, right? And as a result, they have weak scripts, that don't give a good indication of what they're trying to do. So the great stuff about, Netflix joining, coming to Nigeria, was that it allowed a lot of this Nigerian film creators to take a step back and try to think of good ideas. And some movies came out, like The Boys, the Nigerian movie The Boys, which was very good. There's a
mm,
lot of there's a lot of good Nigerian movies that came out of the Netflix, um,
era.
uh, era.
Yeah.
But there's also a, what do you call it? There's still a lack of quality outside of those Netflix films. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't remember the one that I was watching the other day. My friend came and was like, "Have you seen this Nigerian movie?" He played it about some mechanics, and we're trying to figure out whether they're in Ondo State. But
Mm,
the sound of that movie was really, really bad. And the problem was it was inconsistent
Yeah.
with every scene.
Mm-hmm.
So they would show scenes from inside the car where everybody can talk loudly, but then they would show scenes from outside of the car
It's
where
too loud.
there was like environmental noise. Some people were not even in the movie, were just walking and peering into the film, like as if, it
Yeah.
was very interesting. But having said that, there's still quite a lot of good movies that come out with great quality sound. And
Mm-hmm.
Nikolakbo was one movie that came out. It did
yeah, that
well.
was good. That's why I heard that was a good movie
I've not seen that one.
from my
The
research. Yeah.
There was one also that I really liked, was, Taxi Driver Moa Shewo.
No,
Um,
interesting.
it's about a taxi driver in Lagos, who got his taxi cab from his dad. And we talked about the Nigerian movie, on the first time, where the first episode, where I talked about the guys who went back into the past to try to change the fate of their parents, because they were running out
Mm,
of money. But there's been some. I'm not going to pan all Nigerian films.
of
No,
course.
no, you
Um,
can't do that.
No, you
Yeah,
can't,
yeah,
because they're great ones. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, like I think I spoke about it on the first day too. Shawarede, 1 and 2. uh Story about a king and a kingdom and a transfer of power, and like a powerful drum that if he beats the drum, usurpers of the throne would die. And there's like it's like an
interesting.
epic fantasy tale about a family of the keeper of the drum is like a separate family from the royal family, and they're actually harassing this guy. It's a great
Interesting.
movie. This is
Yeah.
this to me, it's a classic Nigerian movie because it has like all the culture.
The
It has
fantasy,
the fantasy
yeah.
elements,
Yeah.
and it's really just a story about like a kingdom. Well, I think it's Ileife is the story. It was
Yeah.
the kingdom in the story, but like he's just telling that story of the kingdom, and yeah, I mean they're great ones too.
Yeah.
But they're just I feel like they're just few and far between.
Yeah.
Example of like, I mean, there's also like Nigerian movies that I watch that like I know are um there are bad ones, yes, and there are some that are so bad.
You think? You think?
There's some that are so bad that they're good. Uh,
Eh,
there's one.
I mean, there are
There's
way
one.
too many. There are way too many of those, man. I mean,
There's one called Stolen Bible. Stolen
I
Bible
mean,
is
also Sophia in London. Like
Sophia
all
in London.
these
Yes,
All
yes,
right,
yes,
Sophia in
yes,
let's.
yes.
London.
I want to give
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Osofia in London its props because that movie
Yeah,
was good.
it was good. Sophia in London was
Now
good.
I
I
want
mean,
to make sure.
it goes to your point of a movie so bad that it was good. You know what I mean? Like
No,
I'm
No, I
thinking
won't say.
back. I'm thinking back at the you're the technical guy, like the
Mm,
sound quality, that but it was funny enough to where people didn't care. You know what I mean?
yes,
And I
yes.
think we need to, we,
Oh, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
give it its
I'll give you that.
props,
I'll give you that.
but yeah,
Technically, it probably at the time was technically more sound than a lot of Nigerian movies at that time. The movie
yes,
plot, the story, the humor, I think it knocked it out. If it was better technically, it would be like 9 out of 10,
classic.
10 out of 10
Oh yeah,
instantly,
yeah,
you know.
confront.
But
the
because
but we
Sorry, go
also
on.
have Nigerian classics like Living in Bondage. These Nigerian movies that
Ineka, the Pretty
United
Serpents,
the
Mount
mm,
Zion Ministries,
yeah,
I Am Atanga, all
I
those.
am at. But
Yeah,
the thing about
yeah.
it
I
is,
mean,
these are Nigerian movies that have pure Nigerian and they resonated well with the Nigerian
it
community.
resonated well
mm-hmm,
because
Living in
again,
Bondage was
we're
a
very
big hit.
we're very superstitious people.
Uh-huh.
First off,
mm,
that is definitely going to resonate. We're very religious people, so Mount Zion absolutely resonated. But
yeah,
at the same time, we're also like 6, 7, 8, 9. And we've had this conversation before. A lot of these movies, I watch them now, and I'm like, what the hell, man? Things that scared the crap out of me as a 8, 9, 10-year old, and I'm watching as an adult, and I'm like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? So yes, those are classics. Let's give them their props. But when we're talking about standards, man, bro, like even those movies then in the 90s, right, when they came out,
mm,
they were so far behind, Hollywood. Think about The Matrix. The Matrix came out in 99, guys. Think of think, think through those graphics and then go back and think about Ideshu or Living in Bondage or any of those ones from back in the 90s and see, like, we're not even remotely close
So
at all.
the thing about it also is I don't want us to go into that mindset about graphics and quality. I
mm,
mean, quality is
I
important.
mean, it's part
Well,
of it,
I'm
though.
going to tell you this. I watched this movie called A Separation. It's an Iranian film, right? It's an Iranian film about a man and his wife who are going through problems. And they have a daughter who wants to leave the country. And during a fight, one of the maids came and he pushed her off the from the door, and she fell down the staircase and she lost her baby. And they had to go to court because they were trying to try the man for murder. This movie was gripping from start to finish. Didn't have any fancy graphics, just a
Of
guy filming
course.
a family.
Of
So it's
course.
like we have stories in Nigeria that we can tell that we don't need to
Without,
rely on
you're
graphics
right.
without
and
doing
yeah,
the Matrix. That movie was nominated for an Oscar. I think he even won. And it's an Iranian film. So when we talk about Osofia in London, I'm saying those are uniquely Nigerian films that tell
yeah,
Nigerian stories. Living in Bondage, that uniquely Nigerian film that is filled with Nigerian stuff. Like we need to incorporate that. And I also want to ask you guys, why don't you watch more Nigerian films? A movie came out this what do you call it, in December of 2024 by Funke Akindele, called Everybody Loves Jennifer. I think they even did a music video for it
Yeah,
that was all over
bro.
the place.
We've been doing Jennifer since God knows when, man. I mean,
Jennifer's been there.
bro,
Jennifer's been
Jennifer started
the
as a
scapegoat.
series.
Yeah.
I mean, she has
Wasn't that
grown up. She
Genevieve's?
has
Isn't
had
that
to.
Genevieve's?
No, it's not Genevieve. It's
Yes,
the same. What's her name? Akidele
Funke
lady now.
Akindele.
Yeah, she's been
Oh, okay.
doing
She's the one that's
Jennifer.
been running
Yeah,
it.
that's her main. That's the character that brought her fame
Oh,
and
yes,
fortune.
yes, I remember
Yes.
this. Yes.
So like if after 20, 30 years we're still
It's
doing
like
the
Tyler
Jennifer,
Perry with
come
Medea
on.
or whatever, except
Come
she's not
on,
cross dressing.
bro. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the same stick, right?
Yeah.
If that's what works for you, but like, you after a while, even Medea, I don't watch Medea
Mm-hmm.
movies anymore.
But
I'm
what about the
done. Like,
wedding? Did you see the wedding party?
yeah, that's the one
Yeah,
I was talking
Wedding
about, not
Party.
the house party, the wedding party. I saw
The
that.
wedding
Yeah,
That's a
party.
Wedding
good,
Party was
that's a good
very, very
movie.
fun. Yeah.
That was a good
Mm-hmm.
movie. That was a
Wedding
fun
Party
movie.
was very good.
And for the record, apparently Netflix it hasn't stopped streaming Nigerian movies,
Mm.
Yeah,
right?
that
The
just
only difference is they are not giving you that upfront to
Money
go
yeah
and
anymore.
to go and
yes,
set
it's
up
not,
and
you
go
know
and
what I
make the
mean?
movie.
Our market is too big, even from a diaspora standpoint, where they are not just going to pan our movies and just, oh, we're not doing Nigerian. No,
Yeah.
the movies are still streaming. The problem is, they are going to make you work for it. So if your
Mm.
movies are popular, if it's on the top 10 list, yeah, you get your flowers, and there's another angle that I don't think we've mentioned here, which is, Iroko TV, them, and
So,
YouTube. You know,
yeah.
my parents, I hear, and that's how they watch the Nigerian movies now. They
Mm-hmm.
watch it on YouTube, and every 10 minutes there's a commercial, going back to that quantity thing now. And that's how these producers are making, and these actors are making money now.
Mm.
Where before it was, hey, we're gonna just churn out these DVDs or these VCDs
Yes,
or
VCDs.
these
Tips,
VHSs,
VHS tips. Yeah.
right? We're gonna churn these out. No, they're not. They're going straight to YouTube,
Mm.
right? They release it on there for free, and then you watch it, and then they monetize, those movies with the commercials that YouTube is showing to everybody else, which is a good strategy,
It's
but
fair. Yeah.
is that the best way to get quality material out there? Is that the best way to get, recognition from the Oscars? And maybe sometimes it's just about making that money, so
Yeah.
I think all these these perfect storms have just come together to we are where we are. I mean, we have
Yeah.
the actors, we have the directors, we have the producers,
Yeah.
those people are being recognized,
Yeah.
but the industry itself
Yeah.
is just, it's not there yet.
So the last few things I'm gonna add to this conversation is no, I do think that Netflix and Co did not understand the Nigerian market before they jumped into it.
Mm.
Sure.
I think that there was a number of blind spots they didn't realize. I also think that there is a because of the poverty that exists in Nigeria,
Yeah.
where more than 90% of the people in Nigeria are poor.
Yep.
There's a lack of money to spend to buy what do you call it, movies, to support
Subscriptions.
them. So
Mhm.
as a result of
Yeah.
it, we have only a
Piracy.
small percent, maybe
Mhm.
less than 1% of the country subscribing to Netflix. So in a sense, we're not able to make profits from the investments we are having in the country. So from a business perspective, you can understand why they would leave. And finally, since we're not able to give these people back the money they spent to make films, they have to keep making a lot, keep churning more and more, hoping that one of them is going to make a hit. And in that case, we don't get the quality we deserve. I think there's a lot of hope in the Nigerian market, and I'm hoping that most folks start to watch Nigerian films
Mm.
more often going forward.
Yeah. I mean,
And
Let's
I'm
let's
gonna,
hope so.
I mean, I even,
I'm talking about you guys too. So just so we're clear.
I mean, even, yeah, sure, but even in that, it's like, when we first got here, and I was making friends with Africans out here, and they would tell me that, like, yo, we used to watch Nigerian films growing up. Like, that was like, my country didn't have that much of a film industry. We would just watch Nigerian films because we had
Mm.
so many films, and they're reaching all throughout the continent, right?
Mm.
I think now probably much less so. I think a lot of countries probably start to have their own, like,
Their own thing,
their own
yeah.
film industries. But back then, maybe 20 years ago, it wasn't the case. So I mean, the film industry is incredibly successful in its own little pocket, but being recognized on a global level, um, I don't think we've gotten there yet. In terms of just money being made, maybe we are at that level, or films being made, but in terms of technical quality and, you know, what is the final end product of these movies, I'm not sure we've hit that
Yeah,
threshold just quite yet.
we're not there yet. Yeah.
All right.
But
So let's talk about a movie that could potentially get us there.
Maybe
mm,
put us on the map.
the movie is coming out in 2027, and it's called Children of Blood and Bones.
yeah, Children of Blood and Bone.
A brief synopsis. It was written by Tommy
Tommy
Adeyemi.
Adeyemi.
Adeyemi,
Yep.
yeah.
And it's a fantasy novel that was there's about Zelia Adebola, a young girl on a mission to restore magic to the kingdom of Orisha, where it
Yep.
has been brutally wiped out by a ruling monarchy.
Yeah,
So
so
it's a fantasy story similar to what you would get with Harry Potter.
yeah, it is.
A little bit of intrigue in there as well. I think there's some
Yeah.
political stuff going in there. So there's a little bit of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, a little bit of Game of Thrones,
Game of Thrones in there
a
as
little bit of
well.
colonial
Yeah.
overtones.
Yeah.
So it has a lot of levels, and this movie has a big cast of some of the best actors
Yes.
in the industry. It's being directed by Gina Prince Bythewood, who did
Yeah.
The Woman King,
Yeah.
and who also did The Old Guard. And
I didn't know that. That's the one with what's her
Charlize
name?
Theron.
Auntie Charlize Theron. Yes. So that's a good
And she's
movie.
working on The Old Guard too. I did
Yes.
like The Old Guard. The
Yeah.
movie is slated for 2027. It's starring Viola Davis as Mama Agba, Lashana Lynch as Jumoke, Idris Elba as Lekon, Chiwetel Ejiofor as King San,
The King.
Sete Erivo as Admiral Kea, Tosi Cole, Diana
Damson Idris.
Bablikova,
Damson Idris.
Damson Idris. Regina King is rumored to be on the project.
Yep.
Boki Bakre is rumored to be on the project. So this is looking like it's gonna be one of the most star-studded
Black Panther type casting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
for sure.
it's looking very Nigerian, and it's looking very black.
Yes.
And
which I'm happy about. Very happy.
which you're happy about. It kind of solves the problem of, can we tell a Nigerian story to a bigger crowd and see
how it lands.
Yeah.
It also is I guess a sense that there's some positives in the future. But you guys have read the book. I haven't read the book. And I am curious to know. I mean,
I've read like half the book.
Sure.
I mean,
what's your perspective on the books, and should I say on the book, and what do you see?
It's a series.
It's a three-book series.
It's a three-book series.
It's a three-book series.
It's a trilogy. Yeah. I read the book. I mean, when I first heard about this book, I was so excited because I was like, "Wow, we finally have one." I mean, even the fact that I heard about it as a bestseller, I didn't even hear about it early on.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, this is a bestseller, Children of Blood and Bone." I saw the name, Tommy Adeyemi, and I was just like, "Oh wow, this is like
one of us." Yes.
Yeah, and she actually kept her name, which kudos.
One of us.
You didn't do the writer's name thing, which I appreciate.
Which is what I do. Don Rajan. Check my book out. Check my book out on Amazon.
Plug.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Yeah, I was super excited to read this book. I started reading it. I got about halfway through and I stopped. Not because it was a bad book. I thought the book was doing it was it was very Nigerian. Like they were talking about Orishas, they were talking about Lagos, they were
Yeah,
speaking in Yoruba, they were
yeah.
they were putting parts of the culture of if what's it called Ifa priest
Ifan, yep,
culture. They're talking about
yep,
stuff like that, and I was
yep.
just like, wow, this is great. I don't think it's for
Mets, yeah,
me.
no,
And especially at a
no,
time where when I picked up this book was around the time where I started reading some more adult fantasies. I started reading Game of
yeah,
Thrones. I started reading the Farseer trilogy, Lightbringer. It was
yeah.
just too at that moment, especially, it was just too young adult. The problems of the characters were not something I could relate to in that moment when I was reading Game of Thrones and I'm reading all these
Yep,
crazy
yep,
high political intrigue books. So it just felt like it was too much of like a slowdown for me. But
yeah.
as I was reading the book, I thought the way she was able to show these um aspects of the culture and the way they're able
Culture
to use the magic
was well done.
was well done. And
Yes,
it was done in a way that even non Yoruba people, non Nigerians could like understand and like sort of
understand.
accept what was
Yep,
going on within the story.
yep,
So I was excited to read. I mean, I was glad she was successful with it and she's getting her movie done. I
yeah.
hope they execute on this well and it is successful so we
Yeah,
can get more stories
like
for
this
her to be successful, but also because America is the kind of place where if one thing works, they're gonna try it again and try it again. If it's
until
successful, then we can have the possibility of having more African stories, more
yeah,
Nigerian stories be out in the public, be told to the people. Because I think
yeah.
there's a lot. I mean, even other cultures as well. There's a lot of different myths, a lot of different
Stories.
stories that exist only
Yeah,
within that culture that would be interesting
to
um,
explore.
to
Yeah,
explore. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, I
So
and okay, go on.
I was going to ask, I just wanted to clarify that the reason why you felt like you couldn't relate to the book was because you felt like you've outgrown the premise or the themes.
I think so. I think so. Like if I read this book when I was 16,
Teenager.
I would
Yes.
be all blood
Yeah.
and bone out.
Yeah.
I'll be so in it. But I
Yeah.
read this in my like mid late 20s and it just wasn't hitting the same like I was
Yeah.
when I was reading Harry Potter, right? Like it does have that same level of fantasy in it.
Yep.
So it's good. It's just I think I aged out of that kind of storytelling, especially for novels.
The demographic. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah.
it just wasn't hitting for me. I
Yeah.
mean, it
So
is a young adult book, so
how does it compare to books like compared to what Brandon Sanderson writes,
I'll be
I
honest
mean,
with you, I can't make
or
that
even Harry
comparison.
Potter
yeah.
itself?
I didn't finish. So let me just jump in here and say that I had the same problem that Fawaz had. In that, I again reading Brian Sanderson, reading Game of Thrones. There was another book that I was reading, the Marked Man, Don Rajan. It was this very interesting book series about demons coming out at night, and you had all these signs that would protect you. It's a great book, right? So I'm reading all of these, and now I I started listening to The Children of Blood and Bone. Again, great story, but yo, man, it seemed a little juvenile for me at the time. And it didn't help that the narrator was trying on African accents that did not work for me. It
Say
So
no.
I'm
was
guessing
tough.
you were using
That
Audible.
was tough.
Yeah,
Obviously, that's all I do,
that'll take you out
right?
of immediately.
Yeah, I tried.
Immediately.
I think I got to like halfway through the first book, and then I realized I'm like, this is a 3-book series. If once I finish this book, I'm gonna want to finish the rest, right? And at that point, author, like the storyline again, whilst good, a little juvenile, I couldn't relate to a lot of the characters. But I was proud though, like Fawaz said, the way she was landing a lot of the culture and putting it out there and kind of I wouldn't say dumbing it down, but like
Simplifying.
simplifying it for some of a lot of people that don't know anything about Richards or anything. It made you proud, right? And then you see the cast for the movie, right? Apparently, I read up on this too. Apparently, this was initially set up to be a Disney
Yeah.
production.
Yeah, initially, yeah.
Initially. And then it sat on their desk so long, then Paramount kind of took it over. And I'm grateful for the cast because there's no way they are going to be paying these guys what they
Okay.
deserve. There's no way. Like the
Yeah.
richness of this cast, they are doing it for the culture. They are
The
not
love, yeah, they
doing
did
it.
it for
They
the
are
love. Yeah,
doing
yeah,
it
yeah.
for the culture. And so in my mind, once I found out that okay, Tommy Adeyemi has been locked into a contract, she's gonna produce, depending on how the movies go, there's at least one movie coming out. In my mind, I'm just like, yeah, I'll just wait. I'll just wait for the live action. But and this was a gamble, right, on their part, where they had the option to maybe release this as a series versus releasing this as like a motion picture in the theater, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm curious as to what you guys think. And maybe David, like, or Fawaz, you that you read it, do you think HBO or I mean I can only think about HBO when it comes to
High
these types
quality.
of series.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? High quality grit. Like,
Yeah.
do you think this will land better? This would have landed better as a HBO series versus live action, theater
Theater
movie.
movie.
I'm
Honestly,
curious as to your views on that.
honestly, I think it would have, to me, it would have probably hit better as a series. And that's
Yeah.
what you bring up, because now TV series to me are on par with movies, and
Yep.
in some instances even
If they hit.
greater. If they
If they
hit,
hit.
they even way better than movies because they can
Yep.
tell a lot more of a story.
Yep.
And I think this kind of, at least as far as I read, this kind of story needs that time to flesh out
Develop.
things to hit.
Yes.
But I think it can also be successful as a movie if they give, if they don't make it like a 1 hour 30 minute, like let's just get it right.
They have to let it breathe.
Yeah,
And
they have to let
probably
it breathe.
multiple movies,
Multiple
because I don't
movies,
think
yeah.
they're gonna lock it down, in one movie. And
Yeah.
and there's also, I think another difficulty that would have come up with the series is how you going to lock all these guys down
For a long time. So
the
these are all
cast
top
is
tier. Yeah, top tier.
top tier. They're not going to sit down
Yeah,
and
yeah,
sit
for
with
sure.
you for months at a time to shoot this series, right?
Yeah.
So, and I hear the author actually, specifically in her contract was like, I want a movie.
So my perspective is that we should make it a movie.
Why?
And I think I'm glad. Hold on
Why
now.
is that for
Wait
you?
now.
I'm curious.
And I'm glad that the director said so too. The thing about TV shows is we have a lot of TV shows, and there's no guarantee that you put out a TV show is going to
people are
be
gonna watch
accepted
it.
by the audience.
Yeah, that's fair.
What you get with the movies is you get some of these high quality actors, right?
Sure.
Who bring a lot of focus to the film just because they are in there.
They are in
Yeah.
there. You're right.
That's
So
very true.
You're right.
Regina King is in there.
You're right.
She brings
You're right.
focus to
Yeah.
this. You have
Idris
Idris
Elba.
Elba.
Yeah.
You have Cynthia Erivo. All
Viola
these people will
Davis.
bring
Yeah.
Chiwetel Ejiofor. They all bring Uncle Chiwetel.
Uncle Chiwetel.
They all bring their focus into this, and you
Yeah,
have this
you're right.
concentration of funds to go and just make a big impact.
Yeah.
It doesn't take too much of people's time. 2 hours, 2.5 hours. They
Yep.
go in, they experience the movie, it's done. They come back and they get a brand new experience. But
Yeah.
if you tell somebody that you need to sit down for 10 weeks every day
You're right.
to just
Yeah,
watch
That's
the
true.
show,
Yeah, that's true.
you could lose them.
That's true.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
That's
You're
true.
right.
I will say I agree with that. You bring up very good points in my eyes. Like I only usually think of it in the sense of what would do the story the most justice. But if you think about it from a perspective of you want people to actually watch this and enjoy it and have a new perspective on that kind of fantasy story
Genre. Yeah.
genre, making a movie probably is the best way to do it. The only thing at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is execution. No matter
Yeah.
how cheap or how, as long as you execute it well, and these guys they have a
Uh,
history of high level
They're
execution. So
setting it up really
yeah,
well. Yes.
I
Yes.
marketing
will
too. They got to market that. They got to market
I
that shit.
will
Yeah.
I will say that the Dune movies have given me hope
Yeah,
about good adaptation.
man,
And
I
I
was blown
think
away.
that if they can give it the Dune level of, even the Harry Potter movies
Yeah, but
were
that was
executed
amazing.
very, very
Yeah,
well.
Good
yeah,
done
yeah,
one.
So
Yeah,
they
you're right.
can, if you give it the level of expectation and everybody goes in, you can get a well built story.
yeah,
Seriously, think
absolutely.
about Black Panther, the first one. Just
Yeah,
Yeah.
one movie built the whole world, and
yeah,
Yeah.
everybody got into it. So
Yeah.
it's not the
I
medium;
mean,
it's
it
how the
wasn't
story is
that
told.
No,
that
it's not the
simple
medium. It's not the
though,
medium.
you know. But they were introducing. I mean, Black Panther is kind of peculiar in its way because they were introducing us to him in the other Marvel movies.
Yeah, he'd shown up a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So
the
like there was a
pre-work had
little
been
bit of
done.
there was a little bit
Pre-work had
of a
been
set.
done a little bit.
They set him up for us. You know what I
It
mean?
could have failed.
No, I agree. I agree. I agree. They
Absolutely.
executed.
Yeah.
They executed. 100%.
Executed.
Could have failed.
And that was Marvel, like the
At
Marvel
its
universe
best.
as a whole
At its
doing
best.
that. But this is again, you know, this is again, I like the setup, I like the cast, I like the
Mhm.
director, I like how they are setting this up. But you have to understand there's no setup to this. Like how many, you know, I'll be curious to find out yeah, they say it's a bestseller, you
Mhm.
know,
Yes. Yeah.
but you know, even when Game of Thrones came out, bro, I didn't even know. You were the one that told me about the book. You know, I watched the series first, and then I went and read all the books, right?
But
Same.
I didn't
And
start reading
so,
the book until after episode 9. I was not
oh,
interested in the book
interesting,
Mm.
until I saw Ned's head
The
off the
Ned's
chain.
head
And
Yeah,
then I
falling,
was
yeah,
like,
that's
what kind
yeah.
of story
yeah.
is this? I need to
What's
figure
going
it out.
on? They've
I think
killed
we
the
all had
main
the
guy.
same. We
They
all had the
killed the
same
main guy.
reaction.
Yeah, no, I am right.
After that,
And
I
so
was
that
like, yeah, I got to read these books, and
and
I read all those
I
books
read
in
the
like a month.
whole
Yeah.
thing. And so
Yeah.
my question now is, does the book, you know, Harry Potter had its own following that
Mhm.
followed the books,
The
followed
books.
it to the
Yeah.
movies, right?
hmm
Do we have enough of a following
For Blood
for
and
the
Bone.
children? That's the question that
That's a
you
good
have to
question.
ask.
I
You know
guess
what I mean?
that's an answer that the people on the back end probably
They
have the
have to
answer
figure it
to.
out.
Yeah, they have to
gotta
figure it
figure
out.
it
We don't
out.
have access to those numbers, but
Yeah.
I know
Because we didn't finish the books,
I
you know,
didn't. Yeah,
like
we
as
didn't
much
finish.
as
I
you
will say
know.
though, at that time when the book came out, in my, well, I say circles, but in like reading circles or like book forums, I saw the
Yeah.
book be mentioned quite a bit. So I
Yeah.
think, I mean,
There's a
I think the
following.
original, there's a following. I think the original came out in like the 2010s
Yeah,
or the late.
she was like in her early 20s. I think she's almost 30. She's probably over 30 now.
Yeah, so
But yeah.
the book has been out for some time, and in that time, this is pre all the Black Panther and all the other kind of
So
peers we have into African culture
the
existed.
Yeah.
first book
This
came out
was
in 2018. And
2018.
Oh,
it,
interesting.
it won a Hugo and a Nebula. The
Oh,
second book
wow.
came out in 2019. And it had lower reviews than the first one. And the
Oh.
third book came out in 2023.
Oh, wow. It just came
Okay, so
out.
that last
Oh,
book in the
wow.
series just
Okay.
came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely did have a following. When the book first came out, I mean,
For
I
the
didn't.
first one, for
The first
sure.
one, I
I haven't
definitely
heard.
because I didn't even. I sort of heard about it just through like threads. Whenever I'm looking for books, I just go through threads
Yeah.
of like fantasy readers, and I've I saw this book mentioned a bunch, so I was like, oh, it's even a Nigerian story. Then I started reading it, but um, yeah, that's a good point. If they have enough people to transfer over,
To transfer.
and
Yeah.
also they're introducing a lot of new concepts to American readers or Western readers. I mean, magic is not a new concept per se, but the thought of like Orisha, oh, Ifa priest, oh, they're throwing the cowries up and they're reading this divination stones. That might be different in some aspects. wizards to Harry Potter, witches and wizards are not a brand new
They're not. You're right.
idea,
You're
right?
not.
So
They're not. And so here's my take, yeah, and I'll be curious as to what you guys think. The political climate, I think, plays a little bit into some movie releases. I don't know when can you check Don Rajon when Black Panther came out? Was that an Obama? Again, I don't want to bring politics into this, but like, was that an Obama era? Because I think there
2018,
was
no,
20, 2018. So
2018,
no, this
yeah.
is where so again, I don't know if that will play into we're having all these conversations about DEI and and that's a huge thing now. Does that it could go either way. Does that, motivate people, right? And say, you know what, we're Black centric, we're going to go represent for our people, regardless of the environment, which probably played a little bit into Black Panther. 2018 is that's which this said, isn't that
It was Trump.
That's
that's
Trumpito.
Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people, regardless of that environment, were like, screw you guys. Fuck
Yeah,
it. We're
I
going to
think
go watch this
that's a great
movie.
point you bring up, because I think
Because
around that time there was almost like a yearning to see an African nation that is this super advanced,
Super,
better than
I
everything. There was no
better,
image like that at that time. And with the political
bro.
climate in that moment, I can see how this was also extremely attractive to the viewership.
Nothing
Right.
since coming to America
Yeah.
had we seen African, like people were like, all of a sudden, people were proud to be African. You were like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you went,
I see I'm beef for that.
yeah,
Because
yeah, I mean,
they're calling us,
everybody,
oh yeah, so are you
yeah,
writing the lions on tigers? And now everybody's doing
yeah.
Wakanda
Now
forever.
everybody, Wakanda
Everybody's
forever.
Wakanda
Yeah, I mean,
forever.
yeah. We don't do that, man.
Oh,
No,
that shit can't written.
and so I'm thinking, again, that might work in their favor when
Yeah.
it's like, all of a sudden everybody, at the, you're proud, you're wanting to be African and proud. I'm sensing a little bit of that environment even now, especially with all the DEI conversations. And, people might be like, you know what, let's go and see Black excellence. Let's
Yeah.
introduce people to Black excellence. And if they're able to execute, like you guys have been saying, if they execute, man, I mean, it could be a killing for them. And thank you, Demolade, for pointing out 2018. That's Trump.
yeah.
It's a Trump era, and I'll
And
be curious.
interestingly enough,
Yeah.
when Black Panther 2 came out, it was under Biden and it didn't do so
It
well.
didn't do as well. I mean, the stories were, very
I
different
mean,
so
as well.
and the dude was just
But
recently
I don't.
passed.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
also.
he just
I
passed
also
away.
don't.
So.
I don't think that the story was not as good for sure. But I don't
Yes.
think that it reduced in African excellence. To be fair, I
No,
will
it
say that
didn't.
It
there
didn't.
was the complication of having to deal with the Mexican
passing.
He's
culture
passing.
is
Yeah.
passing,
Yeah, I
and
think
there were a
that
lot
played a
of
big deal.
and it was also a movie that dealt with the sea. What's the name of the sea guy?
Namor.
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 As
Namor,
well. So
yeah,
it was
Namor.
the Swiss
Namor.
stories. Anyway, it's been a good
That was
discussion.
It's been a
Yeah.
fun conversation. Absolutely. I think this was one of our more, and I think we need to do more of these types of topics, right? Because that's, for us, is like, yeah, we can talk about, all the great movies that are coming out, but like, I think we also need to, do our part in celebrating, African, excellence, and, and maybe
successes,
talking
yeah.
about, and talking about our issues too. We're not,
Yeah.
we're not perfect. Absolutely, but we can talk about the good things and the bad things as well.
The thing that we should probably do, I think we should check out the Nigeria, if you get the opportunity to check out the Nigerian movie that is that it got the
Nominated.
Oscar.
Yeah, no, I'll
N-
check it out.
It's called My Mataba, and also, since we ended the conversation on talking about Children of Blood and Bones, Anikulapo, which is on Netflix, is a movie that
I need
deals
to check that out.
mystical stuff. So maybe we can give those movies a listen and start to
Yeah,
check out some
yeah.
Nigerian movies and support the Nigerian
Yeah,
movie
and give our
industry.
reviews. We should, yeah,
Yes,
maybe we should all
sure.
watch it and give our
Yeah,
reviews,
I'm down with
sometime
that.
soon. Yeah, I'm down with that
Also,
too.
anyone in the chat or in the I said chat, I'm so used to streaming. In the in the comments in the comments, please give us some Nigerian movies on the list that actually
Yeah,
had a
that's a
big
good idea.
impact in
Yeah,
your life or you remember. And maybe we talk about some of these comments later in a later episode, or we discuss some of the things that people write about.
yeah,
Ju- yeah.
Thank you
yeah.
very
No,
much,
that's a good
everyone.
one.
Hope you
Well,
guys have a good rest of your day.
yeah, you guys have fun at your little carnival.
The
I
little
mean,
Yeah.
carnival.
I mean, you see me, I'm already
circus,
dressed in black excellence.
whatever, man.
All right.
You guys
Bye.
have a
Peace.
good one.
Yeah.
Bye bye.